Hello, my name is Miss Jersold, and you can call me Miss J. I would take the time to learn all of your names, but there's apparently 20,000 people in RPS, so for that purpose, we're going to go with you. So, this week, we are going to learn about comparing and contrasting details in literary and informational nonfiction text. I can be pretty awkward on camera, and in real life, so I was pretty nervous to do this, but there are some benefits to learning this way. A lot of benefits. Number one, I can edit out my tangents. I defined tangents for you here. My kids really like to get me off task. It's a thing we like to do, and I like to tell stories and like to hear their stories. And there's this one time, another benefit, I can edit myself in general. This is really great because when I do something dumb, I can just nix it from the tape as opposed to being relentlessly bullied by everyone in the class for the next 6 to 8 weeks. So it's better for everybody. Number three, you can wear your pajamas. And for the kids in my class, this actually, they're already doing that. So it's not a huge win. And number four, you can rewatch this at any time. So for any future viewings, you can skip the boring stuff, just like this unnecessary list. Okay, back to comparing and contrasting details in literary and informational nonfiction text. We're going to go ahead and define every single word in that beautiful sentence. So make sure you have a pen and piece of paper. Karma, I know you think this is outdated, but I'd like you to put your phone down and go get the pen and paper and actually do that. While you are getting your supplies, I do need to tell you that there is actually one student in the class, but he's really inattentive. He actually, I've never seen him write anything down this entire time. He'll just get up and walk out of the room while I'm talking to him. He acts like we're cool right after. One time I even saw him start licking his leg like while I was teaching. It was really... Like I said, if we're going to do this, we're going to understand it in full and do it right. So we're looking at 4 main concepts here: nonfiction, fiction, compare and contrast, and then detail. These words are not hard, and I know you have been exposed to them before. So before you say, I am almost a whole adult, I know what this means, back up, let's just make sure for everybody. So, write this down. I want you to write this down on your paper. Way more simple than you think. Fiction is fake. Someone made it up. It's the best. Nonfiction is real. So, to elaborate on that, and don't worry, the words are still going to be up on the screen while you write, there is a slightly bigger difference than fake and real. All the material we read in class, on our phones, at home, anywhere, has elements of fiction or elements of nonfiction. Fiction deals with imaginary events, imaginary people. For example, novels, folk and fairy tales, fictional short stories. On the other hand, nonfiction deals with facts, real events, real people, such as things you might read in a textbook, biographies, expository and argumentative essays, journalism, news reports, for the most part. Okay, now I know everybody has at least written down fiction, fake, nonfiction, real. To really drill this home, let's test this out. The following book is fiction. Yes, you are correct. Brilliant. And the following book is nonfiction. Good. One more. This show is trash. Yes, it is. Good. Email me if you'd like to fight about that. Also, it is fiction. Okay, back to our standard. In this specific standard, are we comparing and contrasting details from fiction or nonfiction text? Does anyone remember? Excellent. All 2,000 of you just said nonfiction in perfect unison. Next vocabulary concept. Get your pencils and write this down. Also, whenever you see this super cute pencil guy, that means I want you to write down that slide. To compare, it is a verb. We find the similarities. To contrast, we are finding the differences. Okay, so we do this every day. Before we want to get into complex text, I want us to think about where we do this in daily life. So, here's a scenario. You're reading two texts from your two best friends. One says she is quite certain Miss Jersel implied that there would be a pizza party next week, and it will be the day that the project is due, Thursday. The other friend said she's also certain the pizza party is next week, but it's due the day after the project is due, Friday. Let's examine this riveting piece of literature. First off, what are the similarities? How do we compare it? Both authors believe there will be a pizza party in the near future. Check. Similarity. Contrast. Both authors have contrasting views on when this pizza party will occur. Check. One difference. It's as simple as that. Now, although we might find this very simple here, sometimes when we transfer this skill, the skill of being able to view the similarities, view the differences, and put that in words on paper, we forget how to do it when given very complex or long texts, right? Especially on, say, a big standardized test, gives you a hugely long piece of information on humpback whales, and another long piece of information on blue whales, and all of a sudden, you're expected to find the similarities and differences, but you're bogged down by the amount of text presented to you. This is why we start with something so small, like two friends texting us about a pizza party, and then use that skill to apply it to something big, like two big pieces of nonfiction, right? We're almost done. This brings us to our last vocabulary concept for today, which is detail. There are a lot of features of nonfiction and fiction text that can help us figure out the similarities and differences. In this case, the details are very important. So for instance, in our last scenario, not the whales, but the pizza party, the main idea might be the pizza party, but the detail was the date, right? And that is what helped us actually figure out what that contrasting feature of those two texts. I had to cut myself off. I was going on too long. Okay, we're done. Thank you for watching the whole thing. You can now go play some video games or whatever makes you happy. This week, we're going to work on pulling out details from complex text. We're going to work on maybe a Venn diagram. We're going to use some reading comprehension skills to be able to compare and contrast text that might be a little above our ability with vocabulary, all of that good stuff. So make sure you keep the notes you took today in a nice little pile, and you can revisit them in the future. Bye.